has been said by the Buddha. The mental consciousness arises in dependence on the object. Here, except for feeling, the other mental dharmas are inner dharmas, whereas the other formations dissociated from the mind and the unconditioned dharmas are outer dharmas. 2. The four right efforts. The four right efforts are of two kinds. I. Right efforts in themselves, e. Right efforts by connection. Right effort in itself develops four kinds of exertion in view of the path. It eliminates the two types of bad dharmas. Namely, those that have not yet arisen and those that have already arisen, and it brings together the two types of good dharmas, namely, those that have not yet arisen and those that have already arisen. During the examination characteristic of the four foundations of mindfulness. When the yogin feels some laziness, when the five obstacles and the other passions cloud the mind and he strays away from the five kinds of roots of good, faith, etc. Then he makes an effort and develops exertion for 1. Eliminating the bad dharmas that have already arisen, 2. Preventing the arising of the bad dharmas that have not yet arisen, 3. Making the good dharmas, faith, etc. that have not yet arisen, arise, 4. Developing the good dharmas that have already arisen. When these four exertions are abundant during the four foundations of mindfulness, they take the name of right efforts. Of the 7 categories of dharmas auxiliary to enlightenment, why are these 4 called right efforts and the last 8, namely, samyagdrsti, etc., not described as right? Answer. Because these 4 kinds of exertion, of spiritual energy or efforts are easily damaged by error, they are called right efforts. Because the 8 factors of the path, samyagdrsti, etc., take pleasure in the dharma and are easily damaged by falling into bad doctrines, they are called right path. The right efforts in themselves are the 4 kinds of exertions. The right efforts by connection are the dharmas of the path resulting from causes and conditions. Dharmas other than the 4 right efforts but having primarily the 4 kinds of exertion in question. They are impure or pure, with form or formless, as has been said above. 3. The 4 bases of magical power. When the 4 right efforts are practiced, the mind is slightly distracted. This is why the concentrations are used to fix the mind. Concentrations of zeal, of exertion, of the mind and of examination. These concentrations are called bases of magical power. Thus, when good food is undersalted, it lacks flavor, but when salt is added, the taste is sufficient and is in accord with what is desired. Or again, when a person who has 2 legs finds a good horse or a good chariot, he comes to his destination as desired. Similarly, when the yogin has obtained the true wisdoms that are the 4 foundations of mindfulness and these right exertions that are the 4 right efforts, his wisdom is increased by means of these exertions. However, the strength of his concentration remains weak. But when he obtains the 4 kinds of concentration and therefore fixes his mind, the strength of his wisdom and concentration are equal and his vows are realized. These 4 concentrations are called bases of magical power.
Question. Concentration already was present in the 4 foundations of mindfulness and the 4 right efforts. Why not call them the bases of magical power? Answer. These practices do indeed contain a certain measure of concentration, but although wisdom and exertion are strong in them, concentration is weak. That is why the yogin did not realize his wishes as he desired. In the bases of magical power, there are 4 kinds of concentrations. I. The concentration obtained by giving predominance to zeal. E. The concentration obtained by giving predominance to exertion. From these concentrations as causes and conditions there arise the practices of the path, impure or pure. E. The concentration obtained by giving predominance to the mind. IV. The concentration obtained by giving predominance to examination. From these concentrations as causes and conditions there arise practices of the path, impure or pure. Together with the 5 good elements, these practices are called bases of magical power by connection. The 4 kinds of concentrations under the predominating influence of zeal, etc., are called bases of magical power in itself. For the 4 right efforts and the 4 bases of magical power, see what was said in full detail in regard to the smrtyupus thanas in themselves and as smrtyupus thanas by connection. 4. The 5 faculties. Here are the 5 faculties. 1. Believing in the path and in the good dharmas adjuvant to the path is the faculty of faith. 2. When the yogin practices the path and the dharmas adjuvant to the path and exerts himself without stopping, that is the faculty of exertion. 3. When he thinks about the path and the dharmas adjuvant to the path and does not think of anything else, that is the faculty of memory. 4. When he meditates attentively and without being distracted, that is the faculty of concentration. 5. When, in view of the path and the dharmas adjuvant to the path, he considers the 16 aspects of the truths, impermanence, etc., that is the faculty of wisdom. 5. The 5 strengths. When the 5 faculties have increased and are no longer troubled by the afflictions, they take the name of strengths. See what has just been said about the 5 faculties. The 5 faculties and the 5 strengths come under the aggregate of volition. Are always associated, are mental events accompanying the mind. They arise with the mind, endure with the mind and perish with the mind. When one possesses them, the mind is in right concentration. When one does not possess them, the mind falls into wrong concentrations. 6. The 7 members of enlightenment. On the 7 members of enlightenment, see the explanations above.